In this video, I'm gonna share with you my top 7 tips to help you negotiate to get your lowball offer accepted. So if you're thinking about writing an offer on a property and you wanna save some cash, then this is the video for you. How's it going, everyone? My name is Matt Leighton and welcome back to another real estate video. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing if you're interested in helpful real estate videos and cool property tours. First of all, what exactly is a lowball offer? Well, there's no exact definition for the amount of a lowball offer. It's an offer that is significantly below the sales price. That could be $10,000 below the sales price. It could be $100,000 below the sales price. Basically, it's an offer that the seller has no business considering. But in this video, I'm gonna share with you my 7 tips to help the seller consider your offer. Tip number 1 is to find out the seller's motivation. The goal here is to find a seller that either is losing money, that needs to sell quickly, or a seller where it's just an inconvenience, it's just a pain for them to continue to hold on to that property. The easiest way to do this is to simply ask. Ask the listing agent or have your buyer's agent ask the listing agent, why are the owners selling? Now, the listing agent, they absolutely have no obligation whatsoever to tell you that information, but you'd be surprised how many listing agents have loose lips out there and will just share with you, yeah, the owners are selling because they accepted a job cross country and they have to move. But for the sake of this video and to help you get as much valuable information as possible out of this video, let's assume that the listing agents say nothing. They don't want to answer the question. They, kind of deflect that question a little bit. Where do you go from there? Well, the next line of questioning, and I really like this question, is were the owners living here themselves or were they renting out the property? So first of all, the way this question is formatted, the agent pretty much has to answer, were they doing this or were they doing that? Whereas the question before, why are they moving? The agent can say, I can't tell you that, unfortunately, or they can just say, oh, they enjoy moving, or it's their time to move, or some other non-answer. But if you ask a question like, were they doing this or were they doing that, it's much harder for someone to deflect that. They're probably gonna say one or the other. The goal here is to collect information. So if the property had been rented out, maybe look around to see if there's any deferred maintenance, any damage, maybe the tenants didn't take good care of the HVAC, or maybe the roof needs to be replaced in a couple years. So you want to keep that information in your back pocket so when you go to present your argument, you say that the property needs some upgrades, needs some repairs. Or if the property had been lived in by the owners, maybe the owners now have 2 mortgages and they all of a sudden have to pay twice the amount for their monthly housing, and then you can kind of use that as leverage when you go to present your offer. Whatever answer you come up with, you want to hold on to that and just kind of add to your argument so when you do get to present the offer, you can push on that motivation button. So if the sellers are motivated because they have to pay 2 mortgages, you can go that route. Or if the sellers are motivated because maybe the property is not in tip-top shape and it's a little beat up, that's why it's on the property for a little bit longer, you can push that maintenance button, that maintenance motivation button when you go to present your offer. The next tip I have for you is to ask the following question. Have there been any other offers on the property? Now, the goal here is so you don't waste your own time. However, the way you format it and the reason you're asking it is because you don't want to waste the seller's time. You want to know if a lowball offer is even possible in this scenario. If the agent says, yes, we have had offers before, we had offers at X amount, it was just way too low, we're only going to be considering, X amount plus 25,000 or something of that nature, you immediately know that the lowball offer isn't possible. The best possible answer to this question is no, we haven't had any offers. Obviously, that's a good sign. But also if they say, yes, we have had an offer, but none recently. Then follow up by asking the listing agent what that previous offer was. Guys, the goal here is to get as much information as possible, find that opportunity, that leverage, if you will. And obviously the listing agent doesn't have to share that information with you, but you'd be surprised at what you can get just by asking the question. The next tip I have for you is to know the value of the property. Guys, we have to do our market research to fully understand how much the property is actually worth. Is it actually overpriced? Like, think about it. If you're watching this and you're in the San Francisco market, which is one of the hottest markets in the entire United States, and you try to put an offer on a property that just came on the market and you try to go $50,000 under the list price, well, it's gonna look like you have no idea what you're doing. View other homes in the neighborhood, look at homes on HomeSnap and Zillow and Redfin, study the comparable properties, what have sold recently in the community, which homes were larger and which homes were smaller. Guys, if you're looking to save a lot of money, it doesn't just happen like that. You have to put in the time and the effort to research the neighborhood and the comparable sales so you fully understand the true value and you know that the property is overpriced, so you have that confidence to put in that lowball offer. The fourth tip I have for you is to have credibility. Guys, don't just go into any open house and ask the listing agent if they'll take $25,000 off the list price. It doesn't really work that way. The listing agent's not gonna take you seriously. They're not gonna think you're gonna be able to close that deal just from a verbal offer. So what we want is, if you're getting a loan, make sure you get pre-approved, or if you're doing an all cash transaction, make sure you have the proof of funds so you submit the necessary documents with a written offer when you go to present your lowball offer. You want the seller to believe that you actually can and will purchase the home. If you start throwing out numbers with nothing to back that up verbally, it doesn't add too much credibility. Sellers, they want to see the pre-approval letter, they want to see the proof of funds, they want to have that confidence that you can close the deal. And if you just start throwing out numbers and lowballing verbally, well, the seller, the listing agent, they may get frustrated and may decide not to work with you. So be sure you have that credibility and you get pre-qualified, or you have the necessary documents if you submit an all cash offer. The fifth tip I have for you is to build rapport with the listing agent, because ultimately the listing agent is going to be the person to present your offer to the seller, and you want the listing agent on your team. You want to work with the listing agent. You almost want to be friends with the listing agent so that the listing agent is more likely to help you, more likely to work with you, and more likely to encourage and convince the seller to consider your offer. I can tell you firsthand as a listing agent, I've had buyers come in and try to lowball the properties that I have listed. And what they'll do, what these buyers will do, is they'll accuse me of inflating the price, they'll insult the property, they talk in accusatory tones, and when it comes time to present the property, they've beat me up so much. They're on the other side of the transaction, and I'm thinking, are they gonna be this difficult when it comes to actually closing the deal? Now, I'm fully aware that's my job and my responsibility to present all offers to the sellers, but what these buyers are doing is they're doing a very poor job of negotiating. They're trying to intimidate and back the seller into the corner, and that's not what you want to do. You want to take the opposite approach, get on the same side of the fence, buyer-seller fence, get on the same side, I like to use that analogy, and really work with that listing agent to be a champion of your offer, to help out, to promote your offer, and to show why your offer is a clean and fair offer to the seller. The next tip I have is to ask the right questions. So let's say the property has been on the market for a really long time and you really want to stress that to the listing agent. Let me give you 2 questions that you need to be asking. Okay, so the first question to ask that listing agent is this: I've only been looking for houses for a little bit. How long does it usually take to sell a house like this? Or you could ask something like this: I noticed the property has been on the market for X number of days. What about the home is causing it not to sell? Notice with both of those questions, they were phrased a certain way. The beginning of the question was either what or how. When you ask what or how questions, it's less accusatory and more open-ended so the other party can respond. You don't want to necessarily drill them with, why did you price it like this? Why are you overpriced? Why this? Why that? Ask them open-ended questions, what and how. That'll get them explaining. You want to be the one asking the question, and you want them to be the ones explaining their answer. Let's do one more exercise here. Let's compare a why question versus a how question. So if you're going to ask the listing agent and you're going to grill them on the price, here are 2 different examples. The first is the why. Why is this home priced $10,000 more than the house down the street that's bigger? Okay, that's the why question, pretty direct. So compare that to this question. I noticed the house down the street is priced $10,000 less and it's larger. How did you come up with this listing price? So you see the difference there? Why are you overpriced versus, hey, how did you come up? I noticed that the other one is larger. How did you come up with the listing price? Because When you say why, it's a little accusatory. When you say how, they're the expert. Hey, listen, I'm just a home buyer. I just started my search. You're the listing agent. You're the expert. I'm new at this. Can you just explain to me how you're priced at this price point? That's it. That's all you need to say. And when the listing agent says, the thing is, they may know that the property is overpriced. So you almost want them to talk themselves into admitting that the property is overpriced. Again, you're collecting the information and you're getting the listing agent on your side. The 7th tip I have for you is to use the words fair and because. Guys, if you've ever studied negotiation, this ain't the 101 class. This is like the 401 graduate level class. When it finally comes time to present your lowball offer, you want to hammer the other side with the word fair. Something about this word causes the other side to stop and think. The reality is that just like a lowball offer, everyone's definition of the word fair is different. What I think is fair may be different from what you think is fair. And when you use the term fair in your negotiations, it gets the other side to stop and think, okay, a fair offer, okay, well, am I being unfair by not accepting their offer? It gets them to consider your point of view, and that's exactly what you want. So ideally, you're saying something like this. I see the property, it's been on the market for a while. I know you guys had the one offer a long time ago, and it didn't work out. I know the seller's now moved out of state, and the one down the street is actually $10,000 less. And for that reason, we believe a fair offer is X amount. We were thinking originally about closing in 60 days, but because the seller is out of state, we can actually close in 30 days to help the seller out. The second word you want to use in this situation is the word because. You want to follow up all of your reasoning with the word because to give a reason behind why your offer is so low. You basically want to get out in front of the other side immediately questioning your offer. So here's an example. We absolutely love your house and we can offer $300,000 because that's the average price per square foot in this neighborhood. Or you could say something like this. We're going to be offering $300,000 on the house. We would love to go higher, but because we are both teachers, we are up against our maximum budget. Okay, finally, let's do one more. I'm having fun with this. We noticed the one down the street sold for X amount higher, and because your home is a little bit smaller than that one, we're willing to offer X amount of money because we feel like that's a fair price for this house. So hammer the other side with the words fair and because. Nobody wants to be known as the unfair real estate agent or the unfair seller. Just keep saying it until you're blue in the face. And the reality is these tips and tricks, they're not gonna work on every single property. The goal here is to find the opportunity for leverage. And when you do find that house that's been sitting on the market, that hasn't been selling, you can have a true opportunity to save a lot of cash. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, create a productive day. Take care.